view. We're going to move on now and talk about another regal naming sound. Regal, you know what I'm trying to say. Regal sounding name. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
2 Catalina lagers, and all of a sudden
It's been a long recording.
Other beverages are available.
they are.
Like water.
Yes. So the Royals, these are a pick of mine, and I think I've historically picked them as a side that's had a large English contingent in past years. This year, that only includes, though, Jos Buttler is a pretty good English contingent player to have in your side. And Yorkshire's Tom Kohler-Cadmore, who has been in and around that England Lions setup. I don't think he's far away from potentially further international honours. And look, again, I'm probably going to say why I think they can win this. When you look at the squad list, or when I look at the squad list, they've got batting firepower. They've got Buttler, they've got Sanju Samson, they've got Shimron Hetmeyer, they've got Jaiswal, who's obviously learned heaps and heaps from Ben Duckett over the course of the last 4 or 5 months.
Shame that Duckett's not in the squad to teach him how to play T20 cricket as well.
Yes, that was a joke. And then look,
Jaiswal is such a good player.
He's a gun, isn't he?
I love Jaiswal. We could just talk about him for 10 minutes.
And look, how he translates that Test match form into this, like hitting old Tom Hartley, the poor bloke, for 2 sixes in his first over of Test cricket. But look, they've also got some other options in there with Dhruv Jurel, who really impressed me. Not only with the gloves, but with the bat in this Test series, and he looks as if he's got the ability and the gumption, if you want to call it that, to have a really big season. And then Shubham Dubey as well. I know you're a big fan.
It's the other Dubey.
Oh, the other Dubey. Okay.
Yeah, the other Dubey I'm a fan of.
And then they've also got Rovman Powell as well, who, if he doesn't have the best name in the tournament, is pretty close to it, and he can offer some firepower with the bat as well. But yeah, question marks for me are the bowling, which I'm sure will come on. They've got some really good spin options in Ravi Ashwin and obviously Yuzvendra Chahal. But then I think, Trent Boult is in there, and I know we'll potentially talk about him. But I think they might struggle with some of that seam bowling backup. Potentially is where I've got my question marks on the Royals.
Seam bowling depth is maybe an issue. I mean,
before we get there, can you mentioned Dhruv Jurel? Can we talk a little bit about where he might fit into the side? Because
does he fit in?
Yeah, and does he fit in? I mean, I feel like he probably will because of the way that he's just performed so well for India. He's I feel like you have to put him in somewhere, but where do you put him in? You named those guys: Buttler, Jaiswal, Samson, Hetmeyer.
Which is a weird one because
where does Jurel go? 5, 6?
Probably started the season last year. You were kind of looking at that side and going, well, which way are they going to go? And Buttler didn't keep wicket for all of the season, and Samson did. So I think then you've got to question, well, you could have gone with Buttler. You went with Samson. He did really, really well and actually scored runs as well. He was well up the run charts.
Yeah.
So to get another guy that can keep wicket in there, and to go back to Baldy's point about having that bowling option in your top 5, Buttler certainly doesn't bowl. I don't know whether there's some filthy off spinners coming out of either Dhruv Jurel or Sanju Samson, but I wouldn't have thought so. So it'd be interesting to see where he might go. I've got a sneaky feeling that with that kind of firepower, the option they might look to go with if they want to get him into the side is he might need to bat somewhere near the top of the order. And we've seen Buttler operate in a number of different roles. I still think he's best at the top of the order.
You have to keep him at the top,
But again, I think they've got some permutations there. And I think, again, from an Indian cricket perspective, I think, it's a little bit of an Instagram and a marketing dream that he's had a really good finish to that Test series. You'd maybe want to get him in in the side for the socials. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I just mean it will create a bit of a buzz that you've got a guy that's done really, really well in Test cricket slotting into your IPL side as well.
As you said, he feels like he's got the gumption, like that he'll pull something off.
There is something about that kid. There really, really is. No matter, I don't think it will matter where he plays in the team, whether he's at 4, which allows Hetmeyer, it allows maybe one of those top guys to come in at 6 potentially, or whether he bats up at the top of the order or even at 3. And then Samson bats at 4, something like that.
And he's a proper keeper. He's a good keeper.
I actually really like the bowling lineup for Rajasthan. You had some questions around the pace bowling. Trent Boult, Avesh Khan, Prasad Krishna.
Krishna's out all the tournament, unfortunately.
That's a real out
That's
for
a
them.
big blow.
Well, I give up then.
Because depth then becomes an issue, right?
Just had surgery on his quad, yeah.
Navdeep Saini's there. They have bowlers, then the spinners. Chahal down on form, but see what he can do. And Adam Zampa, I think, has the potential to be a big weapon. Don't know if he makes the side based on the overseas stuff.
Can they get the three of those guys in the side, do you reckon? Ashwin, Chahal and Zampa. I mean, there'll certainly be games, I think, where, you think of the Chepak or somewhere like that, where that's might be a spin option, but it's whether they can fit those guys into the same team and use an overseas player on your Indian, or use an overseas player on a spinner when you already have two spinners of that quality.
And I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but Boult, Zampa, Chahal, that's a long tail.
Yeah,
like that's a long tail.
I always think if you're worried about whether your number 9 can bat in a T20, it's time to give up.
Possibly,
yeah.
But like 185 for 7 is not an unheard of score in a T20, right? And if your number 9 can't get you 10 in the last over, is that problematic? I don't know. Like, I would much rather take the 10 wickets and be chasing 145 than 185, but, that might be a consideration.
And who might bowl the overs in the power play if you play 3 spinners as well is probably the other thing on smaller grounds.
In terms of 2020 theory, I'm going to come to you, Baldy, on this one.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just want to put him on the spot.
Yeah, fair enough.
A lot of sides these days are, they're picking 7 all-rounders, genuine all-rounders that can play 2020 cricket.
Yeah.
Rajasthan's gone the other way. They have definitely picked out-and-out batsmen, out-and-out bowlers, definitely on the bowlers side of things.
Yep.
As you mentioned, they have the potential to have a very, very long tail at any point in any of these horses for courses selections. What do you make of that, going down that route for Rajasthan?
Yeah, a real challenge for them because it does limit their ability to throw different looks at opposition, right? They have effectively got, and please don't disrespect Rian Parag or any of those kind of other guys, but they've got 6 genuine bats by the look of it in their first 11. They've got 5 genuine bowlers. Ravi Ashwin gives you a little bit with the bat, but he's probably the guy in that lineup that bats at 7. Depending on what they do with Rovman Powell and some other different combinations and stuff. But, that is potentially a bit of a problem for Rajasthan. And I think it's the only weakness that I can see in the makeup of their team, in that they don't have a gun all-rounder. They don't have a Marsh or a gun West Indian like Dre Russ, Pollard type of player that can stitch the 5-6 position together with bat and ball, give them a 6th bowling option.
Before we get predictions from Binksy, we're New Zealand focus here. Well, what do we want to see from Trent Boult in this tournament? Because I think actually he's certainly, when he's played for New Zealand in the last 12 months, I don't think it's been quite what we had hoped. He hasn't been poor, I don't think, by any means, but we have in our heads Trent Boult's going to come in and be the best bowler on the park, and I don't think we've seen that from him. This is his lead up to the T20 World Cup that we, again, hope that he performs really well at. What are we hoping to see from him in this tournament?
Well, I think, I don't know if maybe he has some confusion. When he was at Mumbai, he had a very clear role. Go out there with the new ball, take wickets in that first 4-6 overs, depending on how you go. We don't know if he has that role within this team, and that affects how he plays this game. But I would love to see him go out there and take that role up.
Bowl like 3 up front or something.
3 up front, take a couple of wickets, job done, come back later in the innings and just bowl some cutters or something.
I will say the one plus that he has in that fact, Shane Bond has switched from Mumbai to Rajasthan. Maybe the biggest trade of the IPL. You guys are all on Hardik Pandya or all these other ones. Abish Khan even in this for Rajasthan, I think was a good get for them. Yeah. But, Bondy, don't sleep on the impact of Shane Bond on their bowling attack.
Fair enough.
Binksy, predictions?
Yeah, look, 6th in the batting this year compared with 5th in the competition. And I think they go at least one better. I think they can get into that top 4. Look, I think, we talk about their lack of an all-rounder. They've got, a keeper who's going to be able to bat in the top 3 or 4 and, balance the side in that way. Yeah, the question mark for me probably is, who backs up Abesh and Boult from a seam perspective if they need it. But, I think they've got a chance this year, the Royals. Winners of the inaugural tournament. So, yeah, be nice to see them.
Doesn't have much relevance now, but
no,
it's a good point you make.
There's still 1-1.
Show your historical knowledge of the IPL.
I was just filling the 18 seconds until we get to the end.
It's a segue into a team that hasn't won one.
Well yeah, which is just ruined. But anyway, but that does wrap up the Rajasthan Royals preview.